We're on. Yeah.
We're
So there was a guy in Utah. I don't know if you guys heard this one. There's a guy in Utah that he got into an argument. So he decided to handcuff the person he was arguing with to a piece of furniture or something, shit like that, right? And then he gave him a choice. He said, I'm going to give you two choices. Either I'm going to take you out and kill you in the desert, or I'm going to put a nail in your cock.
Oh.
Yeah. So the guy apparently chose the nail in the cock.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, so he the guy used an ice pick though. He was like not like a nail. He like fucking hammered an ice pick into the fucking dude's cock and pinned him to the furniture, to his chair or some shit like that. Yeah.
I don't know if I can fucking live through that, so might as well just fucking take me out back and shoot me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know which is worse.
An ice pick through your cock.
Wasn't there a joke like that years ago? There was a joke like that where it's like these I don't know, these natives like bring people, like get these, like they capture these people and they're like death or Ruru, like that kind of.
No. That's the bunga bunga joke. I think I told that on the air. The bunga bunga joke.
Well, I heard it as Ruru. So you heard it as bunga bunga. Okay.
Bunga bunga.
It's kind of like the Aristocrats. It's like it becomes its own thing depending on who tells it.
Right. Well, see, I figured the ice pick story was a good lead-in because one, we haven't done a story in a while. And that was actually real. That actually fucking happened. Yeah, that was a dude in Utah that fucking hammered an ice pick through his cock.
You might as well pick death. You might as well pick death at that point.
Yeah, probably, right? Because, like the John Wayne Bobbitt story, life is more important than a penis. But what is life without a penis?
It's being a woman.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess that's the.
I mean, even beyond that, just dude, what did he watch him do it? Like, who held it? Who held the cock?
Yeah, you figure you got to hold it down, right, in order to.
Right, like, well, the guy was chained. He was handcuffed to a piece of furniture, so he wasn't going to go anywhere. And I guess he would have had to have cooperated. Did he hold his own cock down? Did he all right, dude? Did he stretch it out?
Yeah.
Is it stretching out enough for you? Is it good for you? No, don't get that part. Just get on the side. Get on the side.
Right.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
He had to have cooperated.
You got to hold it down anyway, just to nail it, Yeah.
One of you has to, but if it's the guy with the ice pick,
or leverage, you need leverage.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
Some
you could
sort
use
of
the ice pick
leverage.
I guess you could use the ice pick, right, and hook it and pull a little bit, so
yeah. I'm wincing.
Oh, that's horrible. Right. So, welcome to the garage. It's December 5th. I'm with Thaddeus Smith and Walt Campos.
What's up?
I'm John Lasoda. So tonight, it's a nice lead-in. I wanted to get into something that is actually important because, I'm a writer. We talk about movies and shit like that all the time. And one of the biggest things, and it was actually a weird thing that got me on this topic, but the antagonist, the bad guy, is usually the reason for telling the story is the bad guy. It's what the bad guy does. Without a good antagonist, your story is shit.
Absolutely.
So, we all watch movies and TV and all this and all different forms and everything, all different characters and shit. So I wanted to talk about antagonists. I wanted to talk about who our favorite ones are, the most effective ones are, the ones we hated the most, fucking shit like that. Because like Scotty and I are building this project. We've already got the fucking next book mapped out. I spent the entire day today learning about money laundering. So I have a good idea of how that operates.
Video, but I watched like 3/4 of the one you sent. It's crazy stuff, man.
Oh, that video is crazy. Yeah. So, okay. I mean, let's talk about antagonists, and this is real life, and this is the kind of stuff I have to learn. Because I have to build out this entire underworld and all this shit, right? But I don't know, Walt, I don't know if you saw it. I sent a video to you guys today, and it's from a National Geographic show about how drug money gets from like Chicago down to the Mexican cartels, right? And it's fucked up because these dudes, the drug dealers, right? If they don't deliver, the cartel's going to kill them. So they buy a certain amount of drugs, they fucking have to sell it, and then they have to get the cash to the cartel. But to get to the cash of the cartel, it's dangerous. People are looking for them, you know?
Right.
And so, if they don't, they're dead. Done. Anywhere along the way, because of where they are, any crackhead, any fucking other fucking gang, somebody from another gang. Chicago has 150,000 gang members.
Oh yeah, that was fucking like, you always know it's bad in Chicago, right? Chicago and New York, right? Crime capitals of the world. But to actually see the numbers, it's
yeah, LA's bad too. LA has a lot too. I used to watch a lot of Gangland. You know, so
actually Texas supposedly too, because of
all the fucking because of the border, because of the cartels. Yeah, they control like the border. So like anywhere along the way, these guys can get hijacked by any other motherfucker who's loaded and looking to fucking kill them. And they're talking about how they're fucking they're talking about how someone who's a friend of yours, if there's enough money in it, will fucking jack you and take your shit. You know what I mean? So like they're constantly like at any time they can get killed at any time by anybody around them all the time. So then they have to get this money down to fucking, down to Texas, and it's the same thing along the way. At any time a cop can get them, or somebody else who knows they're going can get them. And then they get to Texas, and to get it over the border, it's the same thing. I mean, it's like crazy. Like there are whole pockets of this country where like the people live, it's like the Wild West, except they're not free in the frontier. They're all on top of each other, like all surrounding each other. It's kind of like Thaddeus wrestling, the Hardcore Championship, where you never know who's going to run out of nowhere and hit you in the head with the bat.
Yes, that was that was a fun time.
That was actually fun.
I don't know if that necessarily works again, but yeah, because they had this 24/7 rule for this one specific belt, the hardcore belt, and legitimately, like the guy be walking backstage, like maybe he just had a match, and it was brutal, and kendo sticks and chairs and all this fucking garbage can lids, the whole shit, and then some dude is like hiding in a corner and like comes around, knocks him, tries to pin him in the back. And it was crazy all the time. It was fun. It was fun.
Imagine that with guns and knives.
Yeah, right.
Like, and that's real life. Yeah. So anyway, but that was an aside. That's like off on a tangent. I mean, except I stumbled onto that because of trying to learn how to the money laundering thing, because you need it if you're going to build.
It's topical.
If you're going to write bad guys the right way. Look, I mentioned this on the show before. I watch a lot of Gangland. All these organized crime places make money the same way: drugs, prostitution, the weapons trade. That's how they all make their money. They might fucking get things real cheap off the back of a truck, but that kind of shit that does go down too. But how they all in common, and how they make the bulk of their money is weapons, drugs, and guns, and women. But they need to wash that money, because you can't use it, because if people start seeing you spending $50,000 all over the place, they know you're up to no good.
Yeah,
and then
a guy with no job driving around in a nice car, fucking dropping loads of money left and right.
Exactly. So if you're going to write characters that are of that underworld, you got to know about it. So I have to fucking research. I have to know what I'm talking about and able to set up the schemes to be able to do it. Right. But right now, Scotty and I are setting up these things, but we don't really have the set antagonists, and your antagonists are where the story takes off, right? So, like, I'm developing a character who's kind of like the Kingpin, only he's more on the good side, except he murders people.
But I had the altruistic reasons,
right? But and even he has, and if he is the good guy and he's an anti-hero, he needs really strong antagonists. I mean, people that do fucked up shit.
Yeah.
So he's like a Dexter type?
Kind of, but he's not really, but not a serial killer. He's more of he's like a mobster. But imagine if the mafia was trying to do it for good reasons.
Right.
The mafia had positive reasons for why they were doing what they do, but they still were brutal and fucking savage when they needed to be.
Maybe if somebody's cutting in on their action, then all of a sudden, they turn into a face, so to speak, and
right, that kind of shit, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, your antagonists come in all kinds of different forms, all kinds of different ways. So, like, as creative sources, they are important, and just they drive your story. You can't do it without it. So I'm throwing this out there, right? The first question thrown out there: who's your favorite villain of all time? Who's your favorite one? Now, I'm not saying the scariest. I'm not saying the most effective. But who's the one that you like the most? Let's start off with that, and we can unpack everything else from there.
So I struggle with this, right? I mean, it's nice that there's like other categories and stuff like that to put them in, right? But I think my biggest, especially my early impressions as a kid, right? I was super into Star Wars, and Darth Vader was just fucking, like the ultimate. Like, he looked cool, right? He had the whole fucking flowing cape. He had a fucking laser sword.
So that he's your personal favorite.
Yeah, he's my personal favorite, like villain, bad guy, whatever. But there's a lot that I really like. Plus, I'm sure there are some that are better than him, but
plus he sounds like James Earl Jones.
Exactly, it's uncanny. You know?
Damn, man.
But that first scene when Vader first, when the door blows open and Vader first comes through, they fucking start shooting everything, and he's just walking through, and the lasers fucking flying around him, you know, and he just fucking starts choking people out. I mean, you don't get much better, like much more of a badass introduction than that.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you fucking cake on a scene. You announce your presence with fucking authority.
Yeah. Fucking, you cut open a door with your laser sword, fucking kick it in. All your dudes just fucking shoot, and you just walk through the hole.
Yeah, you walk through the hole. Fucking laser beams flying around you because they can't touch you. He's like Robert Duvall standing on that fucking beach with the fucking Charlie shooting all around him.
Yeah, yeah, and he was, and obviously the ultimate story of Darth Vader is the redemption of Anakin Skywalker, right? But fucking, especially in the first one in A New Hope, Episode 4, just complete badass fucking just, oh, you don't give me my information? I choked you too much, sorry. Oh, you're talking back to me? Yeah, fucking choke you. Like, he didn't give a fuck.
With Vader, right? A lot of the stuff the insight you get on Vader comes from the books afterwards, right? Because I mean, okay, you understand who he is from the movies, but a lot of it is the redemption parts. So he's already swaying halfway through them and everything.
Sure.
Oh, I'm your father, but it doesn't really capture Vader, because Vader went in the books one by one, is hunted all down to all the Jedi and killed them himself.
Yeah.
Not according to the new fucking movies, but according to the books he did, right?
According to the lore of our lives, for the most part.
Now, Grand Admiral Thrawn. I don't know if you've ever read the Timothy Zahn trilogy.
Yeah, the Heir to the Empire stuff
series.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Really good. Probably the best one I read, and I've read quite a few.
The Grand Admiral Thrawn in that book series, a tactical genius, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he would say things like Vader, right? Yeah, Vader, he was, he would kill everybody. We couldn't keep him. We lost the war because he killed all of our best generals. They did something wrong, he would fucking kill them right away. But who are you gonna have to fly the ships anymore to take care of shit anymore?
Yeah.
So he was a badass and pure evil badass, even though not pure evil, because if he was, it would have been all over. He wasn't pure evil. He was wish-washy inside.
Yeah.
But he was kind of a fuck up as a bad guy.
Ultimately, yeah. Yeah,
at the end of the day,
it wound up being his temper, like you said. Like, he's fucking, like, he killed the guy that was pumping the gas. Like, oh, the fuck? Now what? I'm supposed to pump the gas?
Right, exactly. Where are we going now?
He walks in here every fucking week, chokes out another motherfucker. Oh, we're so scared. Like, fuck.
It's nice. Well, it's nice. I say, hey, Thaddeus, who's your favorite villain? And then I just shit all over him.
Whatever works.
What's your villain? Well, not the best, not the scariest. What's your personal favorite?
Well, probably Catwoman, but for different reasons.
She has the superpower of making my pants smaller.
Pretty much.
Now, is Catwoman the hottest of the villain, the female villains, the villainesses? Would it be a villainess?
A villainess, I guess. Yeah.
Would they be villainy?
Love them because you're not gonna
Of the villain?
you're not gonna say villainesses.
Exactly.
Silly.
You poked them in the eye with your Anyway,
Is Catwoman the hottest of the villainy? I don't know.
it depends on who's playing her, I guess.
I mean, Eartha Kitt was pretty sexy.
Well, that's one thing.
She had her
thing.
moments. Yeah,
That's one thing where you have to give credit for that though, because no matter which iteration, if it was, they were hot. Even the worst Catwoman ever, Halle Berry.
She was still hot. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So like there's a pretty good claim to that. I don't know. I would have to review that. You want to hear something sick? You know who my favorite all-time villain is? My favorite all-time villain.
Who's that?
Gaston from Beauty and the Beast.
Nice.
Oh.
He's a good villain, dude.
Yeah. No, because he's so fucking arrogant. I mean, the guy's a moron, but he's so arrogant and so full of himself. It's the best.
and he's just enough competent mixed with so much of that arrogance that like even when shit's going okay, he can still fuck shit up.
Right. He's just but I mean, nobody in the town can beat him. He's the hero. He's a superhero, but he's a fucking dick. And he's a dick but he thinks that everybody loves him though.
Yeah.
Everyone in the town loves him.
No one fights like Gaston.
No one persecutes harmless crackpots like Gaston. That's one of the reasons why I like that so much though, is because the fucking I mean, here's a Disney song and everything, but it's like they're singing about getting some fucking guy locked up as a crazy person so he can fuck his daughter.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Look, if you want to get out of this crazy house, you better get your daughter to marry me. I'm the best. No one can fight me. Everyone loves me.
Look, Pops, you want her to have the best cock or not? I got the best cock.
We'll have 6 or 7, of course. What's that? Strapping young boys like me. It's so awesome. I love that shit. But if you would, okay, so now I mentioned before, fucking, the horror of if you took you had to hold down the fucking cock to be able to nail it to a piece of furniture. So you had to like hook it and like hold it down with the hook and bang, right? What's the nastiest, like the most brutal villain you could think of? Now you could do a lot with that kind of a thing. The most brutal.
Most brutal.
Are we talking carnage here, or like mental torture, or?
That's good. I mean, it could be separate categories. Like, could be something. I mean, you can go
there's shit like the whoever the the clown face thing is from like what's the Saw.
Yeah, that's pretty good, man.
Right,
that's pretty good. That's both
like
brutal.
all those horror like protagonists and stuff like that. Like that's got to be its own category, I feel.
What, like, now do you mean in the brutality or there's brutality, then there's gore. I mean, I guess they're kind of the same, but not so much. I mean, the Saw villain is good because it's not only is it mentally traumatizing, like it's fucked up, but it's also brutal. Like you see, I like fucking the thing I like about all those horror movies is the new inventive ways people die. That's why I like the Final Destination movies, because they do all this crazy shit, all different ways they can find ways to kill somebody. It's cool.
Right. And you never know who it is either, because it's this mysterious thing. This death is this mysterious, it doesn't have a face,
But for me, it's all about the different ways that you kill somebody in those kind of movies.
Right.
So, like in the Saw ones, right? It is all kinds of different inventive ways. They're all fucked up. They make the other people in the room do it to each other.
Right. So, or you do it to yourself, right?
Or you have to do it to yourself, right? So it's mentally traumatizing. It's gory as fuck. It's new, inventive, different, sick ways of fucking hurting people all the time. I mean, that's for me. That might take it. I wouldn't have thought of it. I wouldn't have ever thought of it because I'm thinking specific. I'm thinking the comic realm or like the more of the horror, like the Jason, Freddy's. Yeah.
Right.
Because I love Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, Freddy Krueger is another really like up there kind of guy because it's fucking the scare factor is there. It wasn't like he was afraid to get his hands dirty. Literally,
See,
he was funny. I always found him
he was funny.
Yeah,
it's like I always found. No, I mean that's a pretty horrifying thing. If some demon could fucking enter you can't go to sleep because you fall asleep, you're gonna dream he's gonna kill you in your sleep. That's a fucked up thing. And it was always in like an intelligent, clever way. Like the thing that you are most afraid of is what he would find to use against you to fuck you up. All the other slasher things in that era were dumb to me. Jason is fucking stupid to me.
Yeah, like I get the scariness of like the relentless killer that just fucking you can't kill, you can't stop, you can't whatever. Like, yeah, but again, he's kind of like I always thought of him as like the Mummy in like the old movies where it's just like,
and they all kind of, but after the first one, great. The first Friday the 13th when it was actually the mother,
right.
But then everyone after that, he got these superpowers. This is a superpower demon from the creature from the Black Lagoon. Fucking murdering people. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I loved when in 8, even when he fucking punched that dude's head off. That's great. The fucking one of my favorite kill scenes ever is Jason 10, and that movie sucks. But he takes the chick's head and sticks it into the liquid nitrogen, and it freezes. And he takes it out and he smashes on the table, and her face breaks in a million pieces. Great. There's one in, I think it's 6, but it might be 4. I don't remember.
Yeah, they all kind of blend together for me now.
Exactly. Where a chick is in a sleeping bag, and he grabs a sleeping bag and like where she's trapped in it, and he wraps it around a tree like hit with a baseball. Whap.
And I also enjoyed the way they would do it, especially for the people that you didn't realize they had fallen asleep. Like you thought they were still awake, and you thought it was, and all of a sudden, like it was that moment where it's like, oh fuck, they must have fallen asleep because this is like Freddy's here somewhere or some shit,
See, they did that. They could do that with the Friday the 13th movie, with the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Yeah. That's what but Friday the 13th, it was just nonsense. Right. I never the Michael Myers movies, the Halloween. I was never really into them. I always thought they were overrated. I guess because that was the first one that they did with shit like that, right? So it's a little out of perspective for me because fucking, I guess they didn't really do shit like that before that, right? The suspense, it's
right.
But I never really got Michael Myers. Right. Okay, the first one, he's a crazy guy. Okay, but then everyone after that, where does the superpowers come from?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make any sense for him to be that strong, for him to be that big, and that he's just a normal guy. How the hell is he that strong?
He's Jason in the Burbs.
Yeah.
And then Leatherface. Okay, Leatherface. The first was a true story. The first one's great because there's no soundtrack and all that, and it's creepy as fuck. The other ones after that are entertaining, but okay, now you're just a bunch of freaks eating people.
Right.
He's the after the first one, he's the least of them. So like Freddy did all those things though. He would chase people, he would hack them up, but he would kill them in such creative ways and ways that would fuck with you.
Right. But by the way, speaking of eating people, did you ever see that movie Wrong Turn? With the cannibal?
That's actually a good flick. That's one of those because I think Eliza Dushku was in that or some shit like that.
Yes,
is she in it?
She's one of the characters in that. Yeah.
Now
that's in that like late 90s MTV era. I think Jeepers Creepers came out around the same time, which that was
right, something like that. Yeah, around there. Yeah,
that one was really good.
Yeah, it was fucked up because they were like circus freaks who like ate people in like
Carnies.
West Virginia, you know, in the middle of nowhere, and there was nowhere
That's
you could go.
Those are the wonderful whites of West Virginia.
Teeth broken at the gum line.
Yeah.
That's actually a documentary.
It sounds
real shit.
It sounds a little along the lines too of like what was it, the Hills Have Eyes, and then
The Hills Have Eyes. Were they like Holocaust, like nuclear fallout, fucking survivors or
like
some
that,
shit
right?
like that?
it was a weird kind of thing. And then what was the one where they had to hide in the house, and there was the dude that like lived there his whole life or something, like in the crawl spaces and shit.
The Children Behind the Stairs, The Children Beneath the Stairs.
Yes, yeah.
That is a great underrated movie. A lot of people fucking they talk shit about that movie.
Yeah.
That movie, I love that fucking movie. That's a great one, man.
And that one was much more about like the suspense and the like what's around every turn kind of horror, as opposed to like the Jason and shit. But yeah, I always like that.
Although that one, that's like talk about Antagonists. The crazy parents are a good one. They're the crazy parents that lock the kids away.
Was that one the Wes Craven one?
I may have been. I think it was. It may have been. But that's actually an archetypal theme. The devouring, the tyrannical father and the devouring mother. They're both archetypes. They're both fucking all the way from the beginning of time. Something that people psychologically do: trap their children and essentially lock them up or lock them away in a dungeon. Fucking crazy shit. Only they literally did, and they had a gimp in that too.
Yes. Yeah.
Was that before Pulp Fiction?
I don't remember. I don't remember exactly when it came out.
I think it had to be. The reason I asked is because
94.
Pulp Fiction was 94.
No.
I think it had to be, and if it was, that means that Quentin Tarantino ripped off the gimp from that movie.
Ooh, interesting.
Right?
You looking it up too, or?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, I won't bother them.
So I'm not. I might not even have the thing right.
It was something though, like Under the Stairs, right?
Something Under the Stairs. Yeah, children. I thought it was Children Under the Stairs.
Maybe it's been beneath the stairs.
It could be.
We may have.
Oh, it's The People Under the Stairs. That's what it is. The People Under the Stairs. Yeah, that movie came out in 1991. So yeah, Quentin Tarantino. Oh yeah, let me get the gimp in there, motherfucker. Can't take it no place.
Gimp.
See, now that's actually like, what's his face? Ving Rhames in that movie in Pulp Fiction.
Marcellus Wallace.
Marcellus Wallace, right? He's kind of an antagonist, but
yeah,
I kind of, in a sense, I kind of think that he's not, because he gives people chances. He helps people out.
Yeah, sure. Well, he
says the wolf.
Your kingpin right there, John.
And he got fucking raped in that too.
Yeah.
So you know,
right. He let Butch go when Butch knew he got raped.
Right.
Yeah, that's what happened. Killed him, and nobody would have known the goddamn thing.
Right. So he actually has a conscience.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was saying, John. There's your kingpin right there. The bad guy that'll fucking brutally murder somebody if he needs to, but he's doing the good deeds.
Yeah, well, we're already setting that up, but even then, like, you need more brutal. It's like okay, so the Hulk. The Hulk, sometimes he's a good guy, but sometimes he's not. Sometimes he's in the city busting shit up, and the Thing has to fight him, or Spider-Man has to fight him.
Yeah,
so depending on whose book it is, sometimes he's a good guy, sometimes he's a bad guy. Yeah. And this guy is going to wind up being the same thing. But the Hulk, when he's a good guy, he needs really big bad guys to fight. He needs Abomination to fight.
Yeah.
When he's a bad guy, he needs to fight, equal hero to fight. Mm-hmm. But somebody's not going to smash into the ground, So the same thing with this particular guy. In the vein that he's in the human vein that he's in, he needs people that are equally fucked up to fight against. Like serial killers are a good example of that, because like if you're a businessman, right? Say you're a kingpin and you're running in a neighborhood, right? Cops aren't going to go into that neighborhood. You're probably paid off through most of the cops. You know what I mean? So like once you have control a certain amount of the neighborhood and the cops aren't going to fuck with you and you do it right, it's your turf. So inside the neighborhood, people aren't going to do it unless it's like the fucking gangland shit where anybody will jack you at any time, anywhere. But like more like the mafia where they're not going to fuck with the made guy, right? But who would? What's the one person that would walk right in there and fuck with anybody? Either a hitman, like an assassin, like a fucking CIA government assassin, or a serial killer, because they just don't give a fuck. They'll breeze in, get who they can get, and fucking get out.
Yeah.
So you have to have fucking people on that level, or other mobsters that are worse, like where that's where you get into the stories of what the cartels do. Because on that video, right? The video we were talking about before, the guy's like with the guy from Houston who has to smuggle the money into the country and he has to go collect it all and everything. And he's like, well, they give you a certain amount of time. If you don't have the money, you're in trouble, or if they don't deliver, you might have to call down to Mexico and say, hey, you might have to come chop this guy's head off.
Yeah.
And then they do it to your family and let you watch before they do it to you.
Yeah, no, that's like brutality. That's fucking pure brutality. They don't. It is literally like the term cutthroat. Literally that.
That's real life.
Yeah.
If you're creating things, your villains have to be at least as good as fucking real life. I do have one thing where I have a short story where somebody uses a carrot peeler to peel the skin off of somebody.
Oh.
Like strip by strip, but the guy lets it does it just like the shoulder or wherever, and doesn't rip it off, so it's dangling. You know how like you get a cut, it's like there's a piece of the skin dangling, but doesn't completely rip off, so it's always flapping and irritating you. Imagine that, like strips in strips, but every single part of your skin in long strips where it's all flapping.
Fuck.
Yeah, and then
that's even worse.
Yeah, then the big reveal is that it's the president. Yeah, nice. So that's what I'm talking about. That's an antagonist.
Yeah. And then you have some that are like, one that I wanted to bring up, which I really enjoyed how he portrayed this particular character, because it's one of those iconic characters. But Heath Ledger as the Joker.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you bring up the Joker, because the Joker, I wasn't sure how we would transition into it, because he may be the best villain there is.
Yes, yeah. And it's an interesting thing too, because there are so many versions of him now. And they're all great. Way is good or bad or whatever, but the legacy of the Joker, the ultimate antagonist to one of the ultimate anti-heroes.
When you think like, when you put that in perspective, right? Okay, so the Joker, Batman is the only comic that sells 100,000 copies a month. It's the only one, and Batman sells 100,000 copies day in and day out. Now, Batman, the reason because he's an anti-hero, right? And he's a human being. He's a regular guy. His superpower, my superpower is rich. Is that I'm rich.
Yeah.
Like you said before, right? So he's a regular guy who is an anti-hero, who sees all that's wrong with the world, and he's going to be an asshole and fix it, being an asshole, right?
Because that's what he needs to be.
But people associate with that. It resonates with them. People think that that's what they would be, because they're not the happy-go-lucky fucking person, because people are cynical, because shit happens, and it usually happens to them. So they're cynical, and they're like, yeah, I could fix this, but I'd crack some skulls, because so they relate to that guy who doesn't have superpowers, because they don't have superpowers. He's the guy they want to be, and they think they can be.
Just doing what he can to make it,
Right.
He happens to be rich.
The Joker.
Tons of gadgets and shit, but he's legit,
but how do you,
like that regular Joe.
But how do you affect that guy? How do you affect that guy?
Yeah.
you can't just beat him up because there's something wrong with Bruce Wayne. There's something wrong with that fucking dude.
Mm.
He's dressing up in a fucking suit and going and getting his ass kicked when he doesn't have to. He could be eating fucking steaks and fucking caviar.
Yeah, he could throw money at the problem if he wanted.
Right. He's
Trying to
just,
fix it that way.
he's out there. He's out there fucking getting his nuts handed to him.
Yeah.
But he does it every day, all fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? How do you fuck with that guy? Because he's like Balboa. He'll take the beating.
Yeah.
You got to fuck with his head. So you have to have somebody that's and Bruce Wayne, though, he's analytical. He's a detective. He's like complete, like Sherlock Holmes deductive reasoning, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you fuck with that? You be completely unpredictable, have no pattern because you're total chaos.
Yeah.
So he's like the perfect antithesis to the character that everybody thinks that they relate to the most, right?
Yeah.
But then you think about all the different versions he's been in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
You think about Cesar Romero in the original show, how the jovial Joker, right?
Right. With the laugh, the crazy laugh.
With the crazy laugh.
Like he was more about like mischief and like leading Batman on kind of thing,
Then Jack Nicholson, who was crazy, but like fucking violent.
Yeah.
Right? Then Heath Ledger, who is just like fucking completely insane.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Psychotic.
Then you have fucking the Jared Leto one, which I haven't seen, but he was great in that little bit in fucking Suicide Squad.
Okay.
So you have all these different versions of the same character across all these different,
and now
Mark Hamill in the animated series, huh?
And now Joaquin Phoenix too, right? Is going to be playing him.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see his take.
It's more like an origin story that I hear.
Yeah. And he's just crazy enough to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a little bit off in real life.
He's off the wall, yeah.
Bro, we know he actually is a serial killer.
I wouldn't doubt it.
He might have to go back and get his heads.
Yes.
Probably a CIA assassin or something.
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm Joaquin Phoenix. So I was wondering, since I'm famous, can you guys do me a favor? Can we just swing by my house and pick up the heads before we go? Because
exactly,
I feel like I'm going to need their counsel tonight.
Exactly. But the Joker, to me, I mean, you have Vader, but you can poke holes in Vader, especially since Vader's who actually Vader actually saves the day in the end. The Joker, on the other hand, and all the iterations of the Joker, and how many people, I mean, it killed Heath Ledger playing that character because he went insane playing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So and that's how immersed he got into it. But I can't think of another character that's done in so many different things by so many different people. It's come out so good every single time in the way that it has.
And that's also including the comic runs. That's also including several cartoon runs. Right? Mark Hamill voices the Joker in
which is funny because when you think about when I think about the Joker, I think about Mark Hamill's laugh.
Yes.
That's the first thing I think is Mark Hamill, the Mark Hamill laugh on the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
But that's how important it is to have that antagonist because, okay, Batman, I love Batman, right? But without the Joker, what is he doing?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He's sitting on his ass all day. There's no reason to even talk about Batman if there's no Joker.
Yeah.
Right. He has to rise to the level,
right?
Because he's being driven,
And that's a good point. You have to. That's the if you want people to give a shit about the story you're telling, you have to have, or about the character, about the good guy, they have to rise up to meet a certain kind of challenge, and that challenge has to be bigger than them. And that's the hero's journey. That is the hero's journey in fucking mythology. That's the archetype.
Yeah.
What they know about that is that when you hit certain archetypes, when you hit the mythological archetypes, the common themes that are basic human truths, when you hit those right, and this is why Star Wars was such a big hit, people flock to it. Harry Potter was a big hit for the same reason. People flock to it without even knowing why. It's because you're telling them universal truths, right? And if the hero's journey is the biggest one that we tell in all these things, so they have to rise up to meet that. Hannibal Lecter,
mm-hmm. Another great one.
And the thing about Hannibal Lecter, the thing that's funny about Hannibal Lecter, nobody ever really rises up to meet him. He's ahead of him the whole time.
Yeah.
He gets exactly what he wants at the end of the movie. The bad guy wins in that movie. Like, you don't really like think about it when you think about watching The Silence of the Lambs. Okay, so they catch Buffalo Bill, right? Hard fuck me. So they catch Buffalo Bill, right? Buffalo Bob, whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah, Buffalo Bill.
But who's the real evil fucker? Who's the guy that you would have to rise up to? Who's the guy that Batman would have to find? Was it him? Is it Buffalo Bob? Or is it fucking Hannibal Lecter eating people and shit and a genius getting away with it?
Yeah. And that's the other thing I always liked about like the Batman series as opposed to like Superman or whatever too. Now, first off, obviously I being a big Macho Man fan, I relate more towards the anti-hero archetype. I usually don't go for like Superman to me, and for all the people that love Superman, good for you, and he's a good character if you're into that kind of thing. Like, he's like the Hulk Hogan, right? We're making a little bit of wrestling references. Like, he's the fucking Hulk Hogan of of DC, right? The untouchable, whatever.
I never liked him before. I'm going to appreciate Superman more now, but still Batman.
Yeah, like when I was a kid, I thought he was cool early, just like I loved Hogan early. Like, oh, Hulkamania, sure, I love that. And he's fucking doing the shit to the crowd. But anyway, I digress again. But the Batman series, more than anything, I loved the villains, right? Because most of the villains, even if they had like a certain brutality or a certain whatever, and ultimately Batman would fucking catch them. So how smart were they or whatever? But like, he had a lot of intellectual villains too, like Scarecrow, Joker, even Catwoman. It was about the sneak and the chase and the can she get caught and all that kind of stuff. You know
what? You want the one thing Batman doesn't have though. And this is like, okay. Batman is Sherlock Holmes, right? Only he kicks ass, but Batman is Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes has Moriarty, and Moriarty is maybe better than Holmes, right? Maybe. I don't know. Just like MacGyver has Moriarty, who's my favorite. Moriarty, definitely my favorite TV villain. Absolutely, because MacGyver's my favorite TV character ever. So it makes
really?
sense.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's no fucking doubt about it. But MacGyver's the best. Look, Game of Thrones might be my favorite TV show ever. It might have surpassed MacGyver, but MacGyver's absolutely the best. Like, if you give me one character,
the original, right? The original you talking about? Richard Dean Anderson or whatever his name was.
See, like, I had to pause a second when you said the original because I don't consider it whatever new nonsense it is. I don't even consider that.
I don't acknowledge that MacGyver.
If I say MacGyver, I'm talking about fucking MacGyver.
Right. The real MacGyver.
Right.
Not
the guy we grew up on. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. The Joker is not Moriarty. He's sick. He has devious schemes. They made him like that in Dark Knight. With Heath Ledger's Joker is more like that, right?
Yeah, more Moriarty than
the other versions of the
thing. Yeah,
right. He is the most Moriarty version. The rest of them aren't like Moriarty at all. He's the which is probably why I think Heath Ledger's Joker is the best one though. He's fucked up.
I enjoy it the most. I love other iterations, but I definitely. There was something about his performance that connected, I guess, on some level, right? Especially when it's
realistic.
Yeah, and especially with the scene with the where he's got the two boats and the keys, and one of them's gonna blow each other up, and that's where the movie loses me, man.
Oh, really? because that fucking part with the people. Oh, you had your chance, man. You had your chance. Like, okay, right? Because Zeus isn't gonna rip your arm off and fucking kill you, dude.
Exactly.
But the people.
He's a peaceful. Zeus is a peaceful villain.
The whole movie was great until that point because that was ridiculous. But I tend to think that about DC.
Yeah, the acting of the boat scenes, yeah, but more specifically, like what I was talking when they're up on the roof or whatever, and he's talking about like, dude, I'm just giving people the option to fuck up. It's them. They're gonna fuck up.
It's kind of true.
Yeah,
it's kind of true. In a sick, perverted sense, he's exactly right.
Yeah,
and that I think is the kind of the distinction between him and Moriarty.
Yeah,
the Joker is doing all these calculated things, but he's doing it just to fuck shit up. He's doing it just to sabotage.
He wants to watch the world burn. That they said it in the movie. Yeah.
Right. He just wants to throw a fucking huge wrench in the entire system and watch it all fall apart.
Yeah.
Right. Moriarty doesn't want that. But Moriarty is calculated. He doesn't want anybody to know he's there. He has certain fucking goals that he's accomplishing, and he's setting into motion a plan that's like 15 stages long. It's you
chess.
And like you have to solve. It's like fucking Lara Croft Tomb Raider here. Fucking Holmes has to solve 15 puzzles to fucking get to where Moriarty's going. The Joker isn't that fucking that he's not that involved.
No.
Carry on, gentlemen.
Sure. And like I think the other reason why the Heath Ledger, like there's this the scene too where he's dressed as the nurse, and it's like it's a quirky little scene or whatever. But the one where he's dressed as a nurse, he's walking out and he's doing like the lip licking thing and all that, which is again small details. I think sometimes are the ones that put you over the top or whatever. Him with the lip smacking and the licking of the lips and all, just the characteristics that he put and the depth and the whatever that he put into this character. So there's that scene, right? He's walking out and he's kind of like almost waddling in the nurse, and he's hitting the thing and he's like looking around like, why isn't it blowing up? And then it blows up and he's like, and he scurries off.
Right.
And then the other scene that I really, really love, which again, the connection kind of thing where he, even if you don't like necessarily relate directly to the character, right? Because I don't know if any of us relate to the Joker on the level that he's like, he's fine with people being murdered and whatever just for the sake
of course not,
proving a point or whatever, right? But the other scene is when he's in the I think it's in the cop car or whatever, and he sticks his head out the window and he's just like almost like the dog, and it's just letting the hair blow through him, and he's like just taking it all in and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. He's that movie has this huge connection with dogs for some reason. If you noticed, at the beginning of the movie, Batman's fighting dogs.
Yeah.
They got dogs sick in them, and then there's that joke with Morgan Freeman. He's asking him, if the costume, if he can make the costume, kind of like dog proof, and he's like, I don't know, maybe it'll work against cats. He goes, so then later on, there's of course, like you said with that scene with the Joker, he also mentions when he's somewhere later in the movie, he mentions that he's like a dog. He wouldn't know, like trying to catch a car. He wouldn't know what he would do if he caught it. Exactly. He's just going for it. And throughout the whole movie, you see the dogs come up. You see him, Batman fighting the dogs, throwing dogs. It's for some reason I don't know if it's a directorial choice or it was a producer choice, but they made the dogs a huge theme in the movie. Yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah,
and I think too with the Heath Ledger take on the Joker, right? Because one of the other things that he's about chaos and all that kind of stuff, right? But the other kind of thing, and one of the reasons why like the Joker kind of theme and presentation or whatever, right? The Crown Prince of Mischief, right?
Right.
Again, he's sitting there and he's the dude that pours all the fucking gasoline, right?
Right.
Sets up all the shit. And then somehow he convinces somebody else to light the match and light the fire.
Right.
Right? Like when he has the scene with Harvey in the hospital. And he's like, he takes the gun and points it to him, and he's like, the whole, like you said, I'm like a dog. Wouldn't know what to do if I, like,
introduce a little anarchy, right? Yeah,
exactly. And he's like, oh yeah, and here's Harvey, who's just a fucking shell of himself, and he's angry or whatever, but he doesn't become Two-Face without fucking the Joker,
right,
pushing him into it,
right.
At least in this iteration, right? And I think that was another nice, like, it was that subtle thing where it's like it's taking the different aspects of the Joker, making it his own, and then, doing the chaos and stuff like that.
It was really well
it's
done.
Brilliant. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
You know who's a character? You know who's a villain I like?
Mm-hmm.
You know the Kurgan. You watch the Highlander?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Kurgan in the Highlander.
Mm-hmm.
That's a badass character. I mean, it's really not much different than Jason or Michael Myers. It's a lot like Jason or Michael Myers, also, except that he has personality.
Mm-hmm.
He's telling people that he'll randomly attack and rape women. He'll just oh, I love it.
Yeah.
But like that's a good brutal character because he'll fucking beat people up and just like have fun abusing people because he knows nobody can hurt him. He can get shot by cops 18 times. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can give him a beating, it won't matter. Not that you can give him a beating because he's bigger and stronger than everyone else.
Yeah. And see, that's the whole Spider-Man thing, right? With great power comes great responsibility. It's at that turning point, right? When you realize you're immortal, or like Superman, right? The thing about Superman is if he ever became a villain, if he ever had that switch, right, to be like, fuck it, no one can stop me. Why don't I go out and fucking bang chicks? They won't even know I'm there. Fucking bingo bango, I'm out of there.
What's that? The red kryptonite or whatever? Is that the thing that sets him off?
Yeah.
It's one of the kryptonites, whatever color it is.
They went crazy on the kryptonites.
Yeah.
They did that. They did do that on purpose.
Stupidly overpowered hero like that.
And that's exactly why that comes in too. The kryptonites, just like with the antagonist. The antagonist always has to be a little bit stronger than the hero because you need something for them to overcome, or nobody gives a shit.
Right.
They were talking like with Superman in particular because he couldn't fly originally. All these other powers he didn't have. Well, this it used to be he was jumping. He
leaped
tall buildings in a single bound.
Yeah.
And then all this other stuff. So he got stronger until the point where nothing could happen. They couldn't touch Superman. Superman couldn't be stopped. Right. And
it's a problem. It's a problem.
Which for art, who cares? Who's engaged because it's no fun anymore. It's like playing a video game that you can't lose.
Right.
It's what's the point of it?
That's why they had to ultimately end, just like the Superman, the archetype. Like I said before, he's the Hogan, right? Eventually, Hogan had to do his heel turn. Eventually,
Hollywood Hogan, yeah.
They had to kill Superman because what the fuck? How do you keep telling that story?
Although the killing Superman's died like 17 times or something like that.
Yeah,
it's a lot. DC does it every time they need money. They kill Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but it's true though. You eventually have to do something dramatic, otherwise, what's the point? Like Walking Dead right now and Game of Thrones, both of those shows are, and I think we've talked about this. They were at points where you had, those shows are based on all the drama was that you didn't know who was going to die when, so your favorite character is going to get killed at any moment, right? But after a while, you can't do that anymore. Yeah. And then once that happens and the audience realizes that not anybody's going to die at any moment, you lose all the drama.
Right.
So you can't get away with that. So you had to do something different.
Yeah, you got to like almost shock the system, so to speak. And that's what the reboots of Superman always are.
Right. Now, the one thing that An antagonist doesn't always have to be. It doesn't always have to be a physical person. It could be with you fighting with yourself, the antagonist within. So, like, you know, or you're fighting against your better nature or fighting against your worse nature. Now, somebody like Superman, right? And this is where I was really annoyed with that last Superman movie, The Man of Steel, right? Because to me, they really missed the essence of Superman.
I have a buddy that's actually Frank that I do the wrestling podcast with.
Yeah,
he's a huge Superman fan, like full on, right? And he was like, "Who is this guy? This is
so." I don't know what what he would think is, right? But you were talking about we were just talking about how that unstoppable thing that nobody can touch him, right? And what happens when he's a bad guy, right? Well, what keeps Superman from being a bad guy? Because the saying is power corrupts, and ultimate power corrupts, you know, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? So if power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, Superman has absolute power.
Yeah.
He could just at the snap of his fingers do whatever he wanted and nobody could stop him. Right. Unless their mother's name was Martha.
Why do you think Batman's been storing fucking kryptonite in the Batcave all these years?
Exactly. But what keeps him that way? What keeps him on even keel? What keeps him good? What keeps him caring about people? It was specifically his relationship with his father. And that movie, while Jonathan Kent was still alive, was great. But then they killed him off halfway through the movie, and it got to be about flying around in explosions.
Right.
And the essence of Superman is truth, justice, and the American way. But why? And why is it truth, justice, and the American way? Why is somebody who could be absolute, and that's the beauty of that character, somebody who could just be the authoritarian overlord of the world, because how can you stop him? Because he can take your women. He can take what he wants for himself. But he doesn't, because of truth, justice, and the American way. Because he believes in that. That's a system that he believes in. Why does he believe that? Because it was instilled in him by fucking his father, who dies when he's a boy.
Right. He's got virtue. Yeah.
And he still carries those lessons with him.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like what Spider-Man struggles with the Uncle Ben situation.
It's the same thing. It's literally the same thing. The difference is that when you're telling the Superman story, you're starting out. He's already a reporter in the city, so he might be a young man, but he's a man.
Yeah.
Peter Parker's like 14 years old when that shit happens to him.
Deal with this.
Yeah.
And one of the bigger things with that is him growing up through the comics. Is him growing up, but in those movies, he's an obnoxious asshole because he's a high school kid.
Right. He's a punk. Yeah.
So it's kind of it's the same thing. And in a sense, it comes at it out of the right place on both of them, because they would be in those stages. If that happened to Superman, this happened when he was 12. I mean, he had it when he was 12. But if his father was murdered in front of him when he was 12 years old, and he was immature.
Yeah. That could be one of the biggest bad guys of all time.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Who would stop him?
Right.
Nobody.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, I think it's on midnight. So we barely unpacked this. We can go forever.
Sure. Yeah. This is a great topic. We can always come back to this in a few weeks or whatever.
Yeah. Let's think about what we want to do next week.
Because I could do an hour just on the fucking wrestling heels.
Oh, I know. Which before we go, fucking Dynamite Kid today, man. You're gonna get that up to your next podcast, but rest in peace, man. But I realized today, thinking about it too, what I loved about wrestling in the 80s, because fucking when the Bulldogs came out, man, I went fucking crazy. Fucking love the Bulldogs.
Did you just say Dynamite Kid died?
Yeah. Dynamite Kid died. On his 60th birthday, he died.
What happened?
I think it was just complications from his injuries.
Wow, and he had a lot of injuries. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been wheelchair bound for years now.
And I think he's been sick recently too. So I think that's one of those like the business caught up with him kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. His lifestyle killed him. It is what it is. That's what happens. But man, tag team wrestling when I was a kid was the shit. I fucking love tag team wrestling. That like and that to me, I think that's probably why I stopped watching wrestling, because to me, fucking the British Bulldogs, the Killer Bees, the Hart Foundation, to me that was wrestling. And now
Demolition and Road
Demolition, right? It's not as colorful.
I saw Demolition win the championship in 1987. I was there. I was present for that. They beat the Islanders. Yeah. And they won the championship. Yeah.
But like it's not the same as that anymore. It's not the same vibe. I mean, it was ridiculous back then, and they kind of made it ridiculous. But now they tried to make it more like it's real people fighting.
Right.
And it loses that comic appeal.
Right.
Yeah. Definitely. And anyway. I mean, I still dig it for, like, you know, the athletic moves and you know, still like the heel versus face, you know, the good guy, bad guy storyline, and
it's a soap opera for men. That's what you like.
Yeah, more or less.
And then, you know, and then you know, nicely built women flop around beating each other up, and then the dudes, they are huge and they beat each other up. Yeah. They have wrestling. They yell at each other. They just like a soap opera. They have the drama. You fucked my girl. That's right. Now I'm gonna fuck you in the head. What?
Yeah. I'm gonna stab your dick with an ice pick. Yeah, and it's funny.
Anyway,
it's funny you bring that up. Just as a real quick thing. So this one situation where you remember I think you were vaguely aware of it. Do you know the Hardy Boys?
Somewhat.
Yeah. All right, so they were like they were the guys that stopped climbing the ladders and flipping and all that kind of shit, right? So Matt Hardy, right, and this other dude Edge, you might have seen him or remember him. Edge wound up in real life stealing Matt's girlfriend, and they wound up having a feud over it. So they made a real life storyline or fucking real like a fake storyline and shit.
That's great.
It's like, and here these dudes that like, dude, you literally fucked your girl, and I need to punch you, but not really punch you.
That's great. That's why Vince McMahon is a genius. He might be the greatest villain of all time.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Yeah, yeah.
The ringmaster.
Because it's real life.
Yeah.
It's funny.
I think he wins.
Last words.
I think Vince McMahon wins.
Vince McMahon, greatest villain of all time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we're going to come back to this, and I think the same thing with the inspiration when we were talking about it. I think we should come back to this more focused.
Oh yeah.
Because we got off in tangents, and we like the Joker took off of a big few minutes, because how could he not? You know.
Yeah.
But we're going. Let's we can revisit this and see how we want to focus on it next and talk about specific things. But this was good, sure. I think. Well, folks, have a good night. Check us out on YouTube, Mad TMC, The Garage. I am gonna in a couple of weeks be updating everything, the SoundCloud, the website, all this other stuff. So it should be a lot better and more centralized. But anyway, check out my books on Amazon. The Mad Dozer Presents. The more stuff you buy, I would love to be able to do this stuff instead of doing it at midnight, to be able to do it at 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah, right.
You know, if I could do it at 2 in the afternoon, we'd put a lot more emphasis into the show. We'd actually be more focused.
And I have to worry about the intern calling you off every once in a while.
Exactly. Exactly. I got the yellow card and I had to go running in.
And no fucking Pop-Tarts even?
That was a one-time deal. It was just to remind me what I lost.
Hey, look at these Pop-Tarts. Yeah, you're not getting them anymore, fucker.
Yep. Anyway, on that note, good night, folks.
Good night.
Good night.